Hey, I'm Tom.
And I'm John.
And we're the co-founders of Hanson Frank Illustration Agency.
In this series, we'll be sitting down and talking to our illustrators, finding out more about them, their artistic process, and the creative industry we work in.
Welcome to our podcast. Good morning, John.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm all right. I'm fine now. The snow's melted a bit.
Yes, we are in sunny but cold Liverpool.
But yeah, well, I think we always start by setting the scene a bit. So we're sat now in a very lovely house. Is it 1930s?
1929.
Oh, okay.
1929. Okay, so
specific.
In Maghull, which is outside Liverpool, in a really beautiful sunny room full of Art Deco furniture, mid-century furniture and parquet floors. And we're here with Joël Penkman. Or Joel or Joey?
Joey?
Joey.
It's fine.
Morning, Joey. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Good.
Good stuff. Well, thank you for inviting us. Obviously, we were up this way anyway, and it's always a nice opportunity to drop in and see people. But yeah, we're in your home today, which is beautiful.
Thanks. It's actually my grandma. My mum grew up here.
Your mum grew up here?
Yeah,
Wow.
and then they moved out to New Zealand and had me, and then I moved here to Britain after university, and then when I'd been here a few years, my nana was getting really old and couldn't really look after herself, so she went back to New Zealand to live with my mum, and me and my boyfriend at the time moved in here to look after the house.
Oh, wow, okay. So
while
it's
she's
been in the
old.
family a long time.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's
it
nice.
kind of makes it hard to move on.
Have you got some pictures from a long time ago when your family lived here?
I've got a few, but not as many as I'd like.
Yeah.
Did you visit as a kid? Did you come over?
Yeah, I
Okay.
remember.
So you've got those memories of coming here as a child.
Yeah, I sometimes think about it. It's kind of strange because it's totally different now. We've
Yeah, well, you guys have done quite a lot of work here, right?
yeah. Just everything was stripped back. The floors, it's reclaimed. It's all been put down new, and everything's very, very different. Although we did try and keep any period piece of things that were left.
And
Yeah.
on the walls are I presume these are the original paintings.
That is my nana, and that's where she used to sit there in the corner. So that's why I hung it there.
Oh, that's lovely.
But it's just so nice to see an original painting by your work. So obviously we're used to seeing... do you scan your work or photograph it?
Scan it.
Okay. So yeah, to actually see... it's the things like the texture, the brush strokes, really, they just stand out so much more on an original. They're very striking.
I think the colours are always better on the originals as well, especially with egg tempera. The colour in the egg tempera is really quite crisp and vibrant.
Yeah, well, that's something we obviously want to talk about today is your process. But I guess it might make sense to kind of go back a bit and talk about how you've ended up being in Liverpool, but also how you've ended up being an artist.
Yeah.
Where do we start?
Well, I guess I just kind of covered how I ended up in Liverpool. After uni, I went to school in New Zealand and did fine arts at Canterbury University, but did graphic design. Then came to Britain, which a lot of New Zealand kids do after school. It's just so isolated and it's on the other side of the world. So they come over here and do a bit of an OE, travel around Europe and then go back after a few years. But I've stayed where most of my friends have gone back now. In fact,
really?
I think all of them have. But I met my husband out here, so...
So you kind of put down roots and
Yeah.
never went home. And did you study at all in the UK?
No, did all my studying in New Zealand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how did you kind of find your feet with your process? Egg tempera. So just talk us through it. I know a bit about it. I know how you work, but it's quite a unique process with the egg.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I studied graphic design, and that's what I was doing. But I don't know, it was a bit disheartened with it. It wasn't quite as exciting as I hoped it would be. So then I just started experimenting with a bit more painting, and egg tempera was something that I'd always been kind of interested in it. There was a New Zealand artist, Graham Sidney, and I'd always liked his paintings, and there was a painting called Christina's World by Andrew Wyeth that I really liked when I was younger. And what stood out with both, like all of these paintings, was they were in egg tempera, and they do have like a slightly different quality to them. The colours are slightly different, and oils, they're not so saturated. They're kind of like I suppose it's maybe a bit more paler. They're quite crisp, and you can sort of see the brush strokes because you can't blend the paint the same. Anyway, I was so quite interested.
So what kind of age were you when?
Well, I suppose when I was a teenager, I was looking at, that's when I liked Christina's World, but I didn't really know anything about it. I was just like, egg tempera, what's that? I've never heard of that. And then at university, I remember my boyfriend was like, oh, and this is done in egg tempera, and he had no idea either what it was. And I was just like, oh yeah, I don't. And then I don't know, when I was maybe in my 20s, I thought I'll just find out a bit more about this. And then I quit my job as a graphic designer, and I was freelancing, and I had a bit more time because I didn't work every day of the week always. So I just got out some books from the library and I started reading up. They were just general books on painting techniques because it was very difficult to find anything on egg tempera.
And this is pre sort of Google being actually useful.
Yeah.
Do you need to rely on books?
Yeah, I suppose it was probably a bit useful, but
I'm sure there's a YouTube video now.
Oh, yeah, there will be. There is some great stuff online now, but I think, I was still reading. The library was still very useful then.
Yeah. when you had to really, if something was sort of not popular, you had to really work to find it.
Yeah. So I think there was 2 books I found that were quite good, and I read up on it, and I got all the equipment and I needed some a grind. I found some, I was quite lucky to find some stuff on eBay. I wouldn't have thought it would come up that often. It's quite obscure, and got it all in and just gave it a go.
So talk us through quickly the actual process of making the different coloured pigments.
You buy the pigments in little bags or containers. It's just a powdered pigment, but pure colours, and you grind those up on a glass plate with a glass muller into a paste, and then you keep this wet paste in a little jar, and then on the day that you want to paint, you mix it with egg yolk, which the egg yolk is sort of it binds it together with the oil and emulsifies it, but it doesn't keep. So
just the yolk.
Just the yolk. The white doesn't really do anything.
What do you do with the whites?
I usually throw them away. Sometimes I cook with them if I know I've got something that I want to make. Yeah. There's just too many to make it. It's too many meringues. I'm not that keen on meringues, but I sometimes keep them. I have been keeping them lately. But and anyway, you use that paint. You mix up each little colour. But after the day, I always throw it away. You just mix up for the day because once it's dried, it's no good. You can't.
But do you have to compensate for the yellow of the?
No.
Right.
I did think that as well. And occasionally, I will maybe. It'll be a really yellow yolk.
Because I was going to say some eggs are
but
really rich yellow.
I think it bleaches out in the sun. Yeah, because sometimes it'll be yellow in the white, and then I'll put it on something that I've already painted white, and I'll be, that is a bit yellower, but the next day you can't tell.
So what's the ratio of eggs per painting?
So we're looking. So behind you on the wall there, we've got. I guess that's
maybe 2 or 3 yolks
so that's
for a big one,
40 by 40, 50 by 50.
That's a 60 by 60.
60 by 60. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
2 or 3 eggs into a painting like that.
Yeah, maybe, but a lot of you throw away. I don't use all my paint.
So predominantly we know you paint a lot of food.
Yeah.
Ice creams in particular.
Oh yeah. It's just I think that's just come about by chance, really. My first paintings that I did when I was experimenting was that one of my grandma was one of the first I did, and
oh right.
I think I did a couple of landscapes as well. then I didn't do anything for a year or two after that, and all my pigments dried up. And then when I decided to come back to it, I had to regrind everything again. And I just had an idea that I wanted to do a painting of some biscuits or cakes, and I'm not sure if I'd seen something online, maybe by Wayne Thiebaud, or I'm not even sure really where it came from. But anyway, I did that, and there was another one of some cakes as well, and they looked good. Everyone like sort of responded really well to them, and there was a local like art show just like in this local area, and I put it into a competition, and there wasn't exactly a winner for this competition, but the lady who was organising it, she offered me a show in her gallery, and I think they used my painting on the signage.
You were the winner.
Well, that's what she said. I was the winner if there was a winner.
What I find interesting, and I didn't actually know this, is that you said you studied graphic design.
Yeah.
And I feel like your work, while it is all painted, has that a kind of a graphic feel to it.
Yeah, definitely.
In terms of the composition.
Yeah.
Most of your how do you make the backgrounds? Do you just kind of prop two boards together? Because they're all done from direct observation, right?
Yeah. You mean just like, how do I...
Yeah.
When
So
I'm photographing them, you mean? Or?
So, as I know from working with you quite a lot, so generally you spend quite a long time photographing the composition phase, and that process is quite involved in itself. Getting the photograph exactly right, for example, the drips of the ice cream or anything like that, and then once we've got that photograph approved by the client, then you start the painting process.
Yeah.
So it's kind of two separate stages.
Yeah. That first stage, it's just as long as the painting, really. But
Oh.
And you like to, because I think some of the projects we've worked on, we've had all sorts of things sent to the house. I remember
Wasn't there a lobster?
The lobster.
Was this lots of meat as well at one point? And you're a vegetarian household here.
Yeah, we'd just become vegetarian.
So this is the Fade and was it Food of America or?
Taste of America. That was really, really fun. Lots of food there. There was, I think the lobster came with it like as an editorial piece about like a fishmonger somewhere. But that was, and then the meat was
McDonald's, I think.
Yeah. It was a lot of meat though. It was like
caviar.
I don't know. It was like 20 kg, like 2 big boxes. It was just so much. I think we gave it away.
You held your own meat raffle.
Yeah.
But wasn't there certain cuts that you had to go and get the butcher to cut in the right way, or?
I think there was for that. I think that's why they ended up sending it, because they were very specific. I think McDonald's, there's so many legal things, so they wanted it to be the exact meat that they used.
And I think the if I recall correctly, the whole concept of the campaign was about what goes into the burger, so they wanted to show the ingredients as they are. But I mean, you end up with lots of food, which is a bonus. I did want something for the fine cheese company, the crackers.
Oh yeah,
that was probably my favourite one. The cheeses were just absolutely amazing though.
And you've drawn some very expensive watches, so presumably...
Oh yeah, I just got photographs.
They were photographs now. You didn't get to keep any watches. It's unfortunate. But it's an interesting process, isn't it? Because what the client essentially signs off on is not a draft or a sketch. It's a photograph, and then you replicate the photograph. Yeah,
so I guess that's... Well, I hope that it's quite good for them to get they won't get too many surprises.
Well, it's incredibly faithful once they approve.
Yeah, and just little things like the shadows that are cast. It's every single detail that they're effectively approving on that.
Yeah, I think that's why I like to take my own photos if I can, because it's quite, unless you're a photographer or trained, it is hard to get a photo that I would think that will be a good painting.
And how do you have a specific way of lighting stuff? Is there a certain room you like to work in?
I like to go up top to the loft room. Sometimes the kitchen. I prefer just maybe one light source coming in, and not too bright usually. Sometimes if I want a bright light.
The sun's just come out, as you said that. This room's very bright.
It depends on the subject. Usually I go for a soft light, but I did some ice creams recently, and I thought, they need a big, strong, sunny day, sunlight.
Absolutely. And I'm slightly curious about the history of this process. Do you know much about
how it
came about?
I think it's like one of it was before oil painting. They used or artists used a lot of egg tempera, and icon artists, like religious icons, they use a lot. They use egg tempera as well. But then when oil paint came along, it sort of superseded the egg tempera. I guess it's just keeps better, and it's much easier to blend. So maybe that's why.
And have you used oil paintings, watercolors?
Yeah, I sometimes do watercolors and gouache, not so often. I find them a little bit more difficult. One of the great things about the egg tempera is if I'm not happy, I can just scrape it off the board.
Okay.
But with watercolor, it's a bit unforgiving. If you've made a mistake, it's there.
Mm. And you have to paint in in terms of the colouring, there's a certain one colour goes first, right? You kind of start with the light and then work in the darks.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, it's very much about the layering with the egg tempera. I think that's like a lot of the beauty and the magic comes from the layering of the paint, because it's kind of like a semi-opaque paint, so, and some of the colours are quite translucent, so they all show through a little bit, which is quite
That's
nice.
Actually, that translucent feel to the paintings, I think that's a way of describing the separation between this process and, for example, oil painting.
Yeah, I think a lot of people describe it like online as like quite a luminescent medium. Like the paintings can glow if the paint's used right.
Yeah, and you sell a lot of. Do you sell originals as well?
Yeah,
because you do a lot of print sales, right?
Yeah, probably. I suppose they're more affordable, but yeah, a lot of originals as well.
And are you sending those all around the world, or?
Yeah, most people, probably America and here.
Oh, really?
By most of it, yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. I do. My mum's got one. God, which one is it? Jelly
My mum's
Babies?
got one as well.
Yeah, she's got one in her front room, I think. I can't remember which one it is.
We've got.
You've got black treacle.
We've got the black treacle in my mum's house, and I've got the can of beans in my kitchen.
But it must be nice to feel that, there's people all around the world with these paintings hanging in their houses.
Yeah. Just.
What's the best seller?
Ice creams are pretty popular, but it's weird. Like, I had one painting of a Scotch egg and nothing. I had the original for years. Nobody ever wanted to print it. That was it. And then someone put it, a journalist, I guess, put it on I don't know if it was GQ's, like, top coolest things of the week or something. And then suddenly everyone.
Yeah. Well, Scotch eggs have had a bit of a renaissance, I think.
But things like that just happens now. You get, someone on, I don't know, Instagram, there's something in the background of one of their pictures, then you see all the comments, and then it just has that trend where everyone wants to buy it.
I know, yeah, it's just, yeah.
It's the interior design magazines as well.
It's kind of crazy. And I know some publication is coming out or something, and I'll be like, oh, it's going to go crazy after this. This is going to be great. And nothing.
Oh, really?
So it's just strange what seems to work.
But what I think is is that you've got a good balance between the traditional sort of print sales, art hanging on the wall in a frame, and then you've got this commercial side and appeal to your work as well. And I feel like maybe that leads itself back to this graphic design feel to your work. There's a lot of the background in all of your paintings is quite empty, which I think as a graphic designer, they just go, okay, well, that's where I can put my logo or my headline, or there's kind of space to put things on.
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely the graphic design has definitely influenced it, especially because a lot of my shapes are like straight on or on the side, like they're more geometric, and there's like lots of packaging and type, and I think, yeah.
The type, I'm always fascinated with the type. I mean, we're looking at a bottle of silver over there on the wall, but even the tiny type on that is, beautifully done. But is it very laborious? Do you wear glasses? How do you?
Actually, very recently I've done some small paintings. I think my eyesight's starting to get worse. I should go for an eye test.
Oh, really?
It was a bit like, ooh.
Oh, dear.
No, but it's usually okay. The big ones will be fine. It's what I really like. The worst bit is something that has maybe a lot of texture but a very similar colour. I think they're like maybe like a slice of bread or like some cake texture, something like that. It's quite hard.
It's like doing one of those really difficult jigsaws where every piece is the same.
yeah.
The same colour. We've done jigsaws as well, haven't we?
Oh yeah.
We did some ice cream.
I remember the big Eat murals. The Eat, which has sadly gone bust now in lockdown. It's like it was a rival to Pret. And we would go in the store and there'd just be this huge mural of a sandwich that you'd painted.
Oh yeah, that's a shame they went bust. Like it was good to. Yeah. If anybody asked what I did, it was a good reference point that people knew.
Yeah, I kind of wish I'd been able to go there at the time, just as they were sort of closing the doors. Like, can I just take that painting? Someone's probably got it somewhere in their house.
I remember we did go to the opening of one of the branches, didn't we? And I think Will Young turned up.
I was just thinking that was so strange. It just kind of zoomed in
but he thought
and zoomed out.
There was a camera crew there filming you painting, and I think he thought the cameras were there for him.
And no, it wasn't even open, was it? No members of the public were coming in, and he just zooms in and...
He got his lunch.
It was funny.
The other fun thing we've done, which is going back a couple of years now, but we made quite a fun film with you. When we sent a film crew up here.
Yeah.
Owen and Angus from PAL.
Yeah, our friends at PAL. And quite bizarrely, you ended up with a brass band in the garden.
That was just an idea they had to...
Were they a local band?
I think they were from Southport. I think
it's fair to say that Owen and Angus come up with some obscure ideas for their films.
That was pretty obscure.
Just for our listeners, like, you might want to, if you Google a little film about Joël Penkman, then you'll find it and you can watch it. And I think, is it at the end that there's just suddenly a brass band there?
Yeah.
But then they animated a chicken flying around and all sorts. It was.
Doesn't your neighbour make a cameo in his dressing gown?
No, that's from the next village over. I have no idea who that is.
Oh, you don't know who he is?
No, I don't know. It was really quirky and really fun, but some of those things, I don't really know much about them. I think they went like around the neighbourhood just finding things that were...
Did you enjoy that process though? I mean, it was a few years ago, but did you enjoy that process of a film crew sort of coming in and...
It was okay. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting.
Some people hate having, being that kind of centre of attention.
Oh yeah. Well, it was only one day. It didn't take too long.
But also what I think the film does a very good job of is just explaining your process, which is why we wanted to make it. I think we make these films about our artists to kind of convey to clients and just people general about our illustrator, the process, their inspiration, things like that. And there was a time lapse of how you build up your paintings.
Yeah.
And I just think little things like that, when people see it, it's just like, oh right, yeah, I get it. That's why it takes a couple of weeks to make something.
Because even preparing the ghetto boards takes some time. Can you talk us through that process?
Yeah, it's a bit of a pain. So the egg tempera paint, it's not flexible, so I guess it would be fine, like for the first, probably. But if it was on a canvas and it got it would just flake off eventually. So it needs a rigid support. So. And an absorbent one, so it's a bit like putting plaster of Paris on a board. So I use MDF and clean it down with methylated spirits and sand the edges, and then coat it with some rabbit skin glue size, and then maybe at least probably 8 layers of traditional gesso, which is made from the rabbit skin glue, and whiting, which is calcium carbonate and titanium.
This is just to make the board.
Oh yeah. So, and then once that's all on, you can sand it and smooth it down with a wet cloth. It does take quite a long time.
So prepping a board like the 60 by 60 behind you.
Yeah, that would take. I don't know, because I do a number. It does take a long time, so I always do a number at once. It might take a few days to do maybe 10 boards.
Wow, so it's quite an undertaking.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for all the artists and illustrators listening who have a digital process that's just done on an iPad, or have you ever been tried just painting on an iPad with Procreate or?
No, I've not
been tempted
done that. No, I mean, I suppose no, not really. Not.
I mean,
tempted.
we always encourage people not to do that. You know, if you've got a non-digital process, then that's great, and I think clients love that. There's a lot of students that we go and see, and I think it's even though they're in these universities with all these amazing resources and studios, they just have an iPad and gravitate towards that and end up with a digital something. And I think that's a bit of a shame. I think that's being lost in the kind of educational process.
Yeah, I don't really have any interest in doing that, but I would like to try more mediums, definitely.
Is there much of an online community for egg temperature? Like, where can people go if they want to find out more?
There is a website. There's like, I can't remember what it's called now, but you know, one where people post questions and people come back with all their answers. Yeah, I think it's probably based in America though, and there is a few people who do like online courses,
tutorials.
I think they're also in America, but it's not a huge community.
Have you ever been approached by like a Domestica or somebody like that asking you to? Because some of our artists have done online courses that people can subscribe to.
No, I have asked. People do ask if they can. I've had people come to wanting to come in and learn from me, for me to go out and do tutorials, or a lot of people ask me to go into schools, but I don't do that very often.
No, because I remember back in quite a few years back, we did a little workshop at Pick Me Up at Somerset House, and what became very clear very quickly was it's not something you can just pick up easily. Oh no, I know. I just and teachers like write, and they just think it would be great for their kids to like have a go at it, but it's so time consuming, and it's actually quite difficult. I think unless they were a really like talented kind of student, I think they would struggle.
How about portraits? Is it still the same process? You take a photograph of someone. It would be the same. It would be the same. I think I could paint anything. It's just. Do you do many portraits?
No, but I was going to talk to you about that later. It's something I probably. I was thinking maybe of expanding my.
It's an interesting. I don't have the exact percentage, but I always feel like, I mean, it's at least, I would say 60-70% of what we get commissioned involves having a person.
Having people in it, not always a portrait, but people.
There's a human element in that, and I guess that's because a lot of it is used in graphic design, branding, things like that. So they need that kind of human connection.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to do more. I think once because I did like some food paintings, didn't I? Like when I had this exhibition all those years ago, I wasn't sure what to paint, so I thought I'll carry on the biscuits for fun, I'll do some more food. But once you've sort of built up a body of work, people look at it and they're like, great, she can do food, let's give her some food to paint.
More food, yeah.
And then you do some more food and people just, you kind of like...
It's hard to get out of that.
It is.
Kind of flow.
It is, yeah, and I enjoy food. I like it, and I mean, like, I don't suppose it's everyone's cup of tea, but like the people who want to buy food paintings really like them, and and it's definitely got a good commercial angle to it. But I would like to broaden my subject matter a bit. So I was thinking portraiture could be good.
So we had we did a little request on Instagram for some questions.
Yeah.
And had a couple of questions from people. So I'm going to put some of these to you. So the first one is from. I'm going to pronounce this wrong, but I think this is from Laura Arte. Can you pronounce that, Tom?
I think that's Laura Arte.
Laura Arte. Why did you want to become an artist?
I think it's probably just happened gradually. I don't know. When I was like younger and a kid, I liked painting and drawing, but lots of kids like doing that, but I just didn't stop liking doing all that. I think I'd probably be happy doing any sort of creative thing. I don't think it would have to be painting. I was really close to doing architecture. I had a place, but then I was quite far away. It would have been a lot a lot of life reorganization. So I ended up just doing fine arts and graphic design because it was much closer and my friends were much closer and my home was much closer. So and then, so I did graphic design and wasn't quite as happy doing that as I thought I would be. I think because you're doing stuff for other people, doing design for other people, and I wanted to do more stuff for me, which... I guess that's probably why I ended up doing the painting, because that's...
I felt like there was less compromise.
Yeah, that's more like... I think that there is less compromise, definitely. Even when I'm doing commercial work, like we were just saying, like I've already painted food because I wanted to paint that, and people are coming to me because they like what I do already. So I have to do the same sort of thing, which suits me.
So you're happy with that. What would you recommend to an illustrator, or I guess a painter or artist starting out?
I think it's really important to find your own style and not try and be like anybody else. I think like when you're young, it's just easy to look at other people and think, I want to be like them or do stuff like that. And I'm sure that I tried to do paintings like other people when I was starting out, and at school you are taught to do that, and it's good to look at other people and see what's happening, but then you've sort of got to mix up and do your own thing, because I think you'll only stand out if it's your own work, not someone else.
Do you think that's another reason why you chose this process? Because it is really hard to do, and there's not many people doing it.
Maybe, but I think I just had good results from it. Yeah. I think like immediately they weren't bad paintings. Whereas I tried other things like oil. Like I did find it a bit hard to get like the shine, like the some bits were more shiny than other bits, and some bits would sink into the canvas. Even though I would try. I mean, it's fine, but in watercolor it is a bit harder to like cover your mistakes, and so it's a little bit maybe not as relaxing as this egg tempera. It's just suits me, and it dries super quick. I didn't say that, but as soon as I put a paint stroke down, it's like seconds and it's dry, so you can paint over it. And with oil paint, you've got to like wait around for days. It's just it really suits me, and I like the craft element as well. I like doing all those extra bits. I like the control that it gives me.
And then there's a nice comment here. We asked for questions, but somebody's put, this is Grace of Paints. No question. I just want to say I absolutely love her work, and it looks more delicious than real food.
Oh, that's very kind. Thanks very much.
that's a nice comment.
A lot of the food is not quite as delicious. Like I really do have to work hard at some foods
to make them look so good. One thing that I guess has changed since we started working together is you're a mum now with 2 young kids.
Yeah, gosh, that is so hard.
How has that changed the way you work, and has it changed the hours you keep?
I don't really work anymore, but I didn't want to say that. It's so hard. I mean, I thought it would be hard anyway, so that's probably why I left it so long. I was 40 when I had my last one, and they were pretty close together. So I have 2 boys, and it's just so hard. They're both quite young still. They're 3 and 5, and they're just so all-consuming.
And they're boys as well.
And they're boys. Yeah, they're hard work, and we've got no like immediate family around to help, and I'm exhausted all the time.
It's tricky, isn't it? And it does, I guess, change your balance. I just wondered if you had any particular tips or advice or any sort of life hacks that you've worked out that helped you.
I don't know. I'm just like, the youngest just started nursery like in January, so that's amazing. That's like
freed you up again a bit.
Yeah. It's just hard. I think I would prefer to have my mum or someone handy to just like offload them onto.
Have you done any painting with them?
A little, but not much. The oldest, I suppose they're getting more into painting and art now, but they weren't that into it when they were younger.
I just think it's one of these things. Like you'll see it on TV and it looks like such a wholesome family activity.
That was stressful.
But in reality, it's absolute carnage, and there's so much cleaning up to do.
I know.
after.
I'm there with my cloths and like my other cloths, and they're just
the
like trying to
floor.
I know, they're trying to mix all the colours together. I mean, we're lucky that most of the house has not got carpet, so
Yeah.
it's super stressful.
Yeah, we've done it once or twice. Now there's a play group nearby us, and they have this painting room, and it's like, yeah, just do your painting there.
Oh yeah.
And absolutely not in our house.
Yeah, I think I'm a big one for washable felt tips, really.
Okay, yeah.
They often want to do painting. I'm like, no, we'll do it another day.
Yeah.
Keep it nice and simple. And because you recently travelled back to New Zealand as well, didn't you?
Yeah, we went back for 6 months. Well, before my oldest boy started school, I thought it's a good opportunity. I probably won't get that opportunity again.
And where in New Zealand?
Near Christchurch.
Okay.
I've lived in a few places, but my parents are near Christchurch now, and that's where I went to university. But I grew up in a little tiny place called Orari, in sort of the middle of the South Island. And when I was 10, we went to Papua New Guinea for 3 years as well.
Wow.
Oh wow, okay. And were you, because you sort of said that you were aware of painters or paintings that you liked as a child, were you from an arty family, with the kind of family that went to galleries, or?
There's not that many great galleries in New Zealand, so no, but they are arty. Yeah, my dad, he was a fashion designer originally, but then he went into more management, and yeah, they're both quite creative. I mean, they're not like artists; they don't sit down and do drawings, but they're very hands-on and like making and doing things.
So was it?
And very encouraging of my art, I guess. Yeah.
Were you aware that art was a way to make a living, or was it always in your head? Was it something that was just going to be a pastime or a hobby?
I suppose I didn't think I could make a proper living out of it. That's why I did graphic design. But they were definitely, like, my mum was really, like, she was encouraging. She was very encouraging. She definitely never said to me, don't be a painter, you'll never, like, make a living. And when I stopped doing graphic design and decided to just paint, she was very encouraging then. So.
Yeah. And I think we should also mention James.
Yeah, he's like a super husband. He's very encouraging.
So yeah. James, your partner, is also how many members of Dorothy are there?
Well, there's 2 like partners now. He's the creative, and his other partner Ali is more of the I guess admin, but she does all the marketing. She makes it all happen.
Okay, and then, I mean, so for those who don't know, Dorothy is a physical space here, but also an online store selling graphic design prints and
yeah.
I mean, the work. I see the work everywhere. I went to my brother-in-law's house recently. He had one of the prints up. I've seen them all over the city this week.
So funny when you're like going through eBay and looking at something, and there it is in the background.
Yeah, they pop up. You see. I find when I'm looking on Airbnb, I spot them.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's had huge success with that, hasn't he? And it's just interesting. I guess you two are a bit of a sort of, local design super couple.
Oh yeah, I suppose. I don't feel like it, but yeah, it's nice having another creative person in the house. Definitely. And
do you? I guess you can learn from each other's experiences, and obviously selling prints online and.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we always like complain about the same things as well. When you get a difficult person in, but yeah, it's really good.
What are you working on at the moment? Anything interesting? Or
I'm just starting a painting. It's some books by female authors that only use male author names. So I'm just working like my pseudonym painting. I haven't decided what it's called yet. And then I'm working on updating my website as well. So
okay.
Everyone's working on updating their websites.
Oh yeah, well, it's going to happen, this one.
Yeah.
I haven't touched it for 5 years, so.
Well, we've got some delicious looking home baked bread on the table over there.
Oh yeah.
Which looks great, and also really want to have a nose around your studio and take some photographs if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, thank you so much for inviting us over.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you guys and be able to cook for you.
Thank you very much.
And if you'd like to know more about Handsome Frank and our artists, check out our website, handsomefrank.com.
Thanks very much for listening.
Handsome Frank.